Well, welcome everybody to our webinar today. My name is Dr. Stephen Moore. I live in Jupiter, Florida, and we're excited here to go over a new breakthrough in epigenetics and how it affects weight management with a new system called ageLOC Tr90. And we're going to jump right into it here. We'll go probably about 30 minutes. We'll have some time for Q&A, so any questions that you have, feel free to chat in the chat box, and we'll answer those questions at the end of the webinar. And then when we finish up, we'll have a short survey there. And if you guys can just fill out a few questions and just give us some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. And so let me introduce Tanner Gibb. Tanner is he's the technical communications manager over at PharmaNex. He's been there for 10 years. He's actually one of the keynote speakers that we invite to present a lot of the science at our healthcare forums that we host over in Provo, Utah at the main headquarters. And we're excited to have him here. So Tanner, thanks for joining us, and we're looking forward to learning more about Tr90.
Yeah, thanks for that intro. Happy to be here. Hope everyone's doing good and taking time out of their busy schedules to learn a little bit about this weight management system. Just a quick intro. Been with the company for 10 years. I love what I do. I oversee our product trainers and our product support teams that we have globally. So all the technical questions that they get that they can't answer, they come to me and my team. But it's important to note that I'm just, one science guy in a team of well over 75 scientists that we have within the company, with many PhDs in areas of, physiology and nutrition and chemistry to, you name a field, we probably have a PhD scientist that's working in our company. And we believe that gives us a competitive advantage to formulating incredible products that make a difference in the lives of people that take it. So PharmaNex, is started in about 20 years ago, if I recall history, and it's taken off because of its pharmaceutical approach to creating high quality supplements. And today we're talking about a whole system. It includes some supplements and food-based products, but also an eating plan and exercise recommendations. And we're going to talk about all three of those and a little bit of history behind Tr90. So let's jump into it. A lot of the research behind Tr90 is that it's more than just a number on a scale. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. That there's an obesity epidemic in the United States and around many parts of the world for that matter. The most recent stats that I've seen is that about 2/3 of Americans are either overweight or obese. But even with just standing on the scale, it doesn't tell you the full story of health and wellness because it's more than just body weight. It's about body composition, right? So in terms of muscle to fat that you have inside the body, it can vary drastically. So there's a tragedy of yo-yo dieting that exists in the marketplace. There's a lot of diets in the marketplace that, give you or tout quick results, but maybe not long-term results, right? And so nobody wants to be the before and then after that look the same or look worse. When you look at some of the studies and the stats, it's about 80% of people who achieve a decent amount of weight loss, over 10% of their body weight, they regain that within 1 year. And so that kind of tells us that there's a missing piece to this equation of, well, it's not as simple as just weight loss. It's about weight maintenance and what's the right way to do it and what's the wrong way to do it and how do we do it the right way. So a little bit of background, we need to understand energy balance in the body. And this is just kind of a brief synopsis here, but basically people understand that if there's a balance between energy in and energy out, in other words, the food and calories that you consume and the energy that you burn inside the body, then you're going to maintain your weight. Unfortunately, what happens is that for a lot of us, there's more energy and more calories in than what we're burning on the inside, and so that leads to weight gain. On the opposite side of the equation is that if we consume less, then we're going to lose weight, right? And so that brings me to this point, because a lot of people think that a calorie is a calorie, and the truth is there's a lot of new science and evidence that the way our body responds to food is very different, right? So a carbohydrate is different from a protein, from a fat. These are the main macronutrients. Your body's metabolism, your body's hormonal response. I think I have a little question there. Are all calories the same? Well, the answer is no. Not only in terms of the metabolic and hormonal response in the body, but also in terms of how nutrients support your muscle or not. We know that protein is an essential nutrient for supporting and stimulating muscle protein synthesis, for being able to support your muscle tissue. And carbohydrates and fats, they're not going to offer that same benefit. And so you want to make sure that you get the right protein, but in the right amounts for your body shape and your body size, and in the right times throughout the day as well. Typical diet tend to have a lot of protein at just one major meal throughout the day. And that's not the right way to get protein for optimal support for metabolic and hormonal systems, but also for maintaining lean muscle. But also when we talk about energy out, a lot of people think of it as just exercise. And so the more you exercise, the more you're going to lose weight. And even though there is a relationship, it's not as crystal clear as you might think. And so when we talk about energy out, when it comes to physical activity, on this slide here, you can see that it's only about 20% of what we burn per day. And now that'll vary based on the individual. If someone's really sedentary, physical activity is probably going to be closer to about 5 to 10% per day. But if someone is super highly active, their physical activity is probably going to account for about, I'd say 30 to 35, maybe 40%. But even with those drastic ranges, average is about 20%. The resting metabolic rate is the big player when it comes to how many calories you burn per day. And this is for just normal metabolism, normal respiration, normal functions inside the body. And so the key point to remember here is that lean muscle accounts for the major part of this resting metabolic rate that we have inside the body. And so really any key to long-term weight loss and weight maintenance is going to depend on your ability to be able to maintain lean muscle, because you're going to be able to maintain that metabolism that's going to keep you burning more calories at rest compared to all of these other things that we can do. And that doesn't diminish the importance of physical activity during weight loss, but a lot of people think of physical activity during weight loss as kind of the key trigger to being able to burn more calories. And the truth is, the reason that you work out while you're trying to lose weight is to be able to support lean muscle. And that's why we recommend a combination of aerobic and anaerobic. So aerobic things like, walking and running and jogging, but in addition to anaerobic activities or muscle strengthening activities, things that can be done at home like push-ups and sit-ups, but also things that can be done in the gym in terms of, lifting weights and building muscle. A little bit goes a long way for being able to support lean muscle and that metabolic burn, not only while you're losing weight, but also to be able to give you a better chance at maintaining that weight loss long-term. So when we talk about ageLOC, we talk about gene expression, okay? And our gene expression science is something that is patented, that's protected, that nobody else has. But just to sum it up very quickly, we've learned that with aging, inside of each of our cells in our body, in different tissues, there's genes, and they're expressed, or they have activity, meaning that they're producing different enzymes or proteins that do things inside the body. And we've learned that with aging, there's a youthful gene expression pattern, and there's an aging gene expression pattern. And there are some significant differences between the two. And with that, we've been able to screen ingredients to be able to select ones that reverse that or reset that to a more youthful or healthy gene expression pattern in the body. Well, we've been able to apply the same anti-aging research to weight management. And it was kind of a difficult thing at first because we didn't know if it really applied. But we've learned that when certain genes are out of sync as they relate to things like metabolism and appetite and hunger signals inside the body and maintaining lean muscle, that when the genes are out of sync, then it doesn't lead to favorable outcomes inside of the body. And so part of this research actually stemmed from research that was published in 2008. This was a study of a collection of many different identical twins, and they tracked them over time, and they looked at their changes in gene expression as it relates especially to fat metabolism. And you can see on this graph that there are differences. And so the point here to remember is that even with identical twins who share the exact same DNA, the same genetic code, the same exact genes, there are differences in how those genes are working or how they're being expressed that contribute to whether a twin is obese or whether they have a healthy weight. And so knowing that there is gene expression that can play an important role in weight management, we needed to look to the literature to see if there's actually studies showing that ingredients can have an impact on this. And so this is actually a study looking at heat maps. They look at, actually, it's over 600 genes. It's a preclinical study that was done in mice, but nevertheless, there was a lean control group of mice, and they compared that to a high-fat control. And what happened is with a high-fat control, you can see that's actually an image of fat cells. You can see that it's very, very different from the same high-fat control that was given one key ingredient in our ageLOC Tr90 system. That ingredient in the study is actually blood orange. Blood orange is like regular orange, but it's very different in terms of its nutritional profile, its taste, but also the certain compounds that it has, certain anthocyanins that give it kind of that red, that darker red pigment. that have a really nice effect on a healthy metabolism, on a thermogenic effect, and other benefits that it has inside the body. And so in this study, we learned that even with a high-fat diet, by just adding the one ingredient that we put inside of our Tr90 system, it has a nice shift in terms of gene expression, but also in terms of shrinking fat cells. So when we talk about fat cells and their size, typically what happens with weight loss is that you begin to oxidize some of these fatty acids that break down into different the fat breaks down into fatty acids and glycerol, and that's used up inside the body. Usually those cells actually fill up with water, and then over time those cells can begin to shrink over time, and so that is a sign of a fat loss inside the body, and that's what we saw with that ingredient. So that leads me into Tr90. What is it? It's a holistic solution. It's not a quick fix. It's not a pick-me-up. It's not a fad diet. It's really a whole system with products, with an eating plan, and with exercise that's really designed to help people lose weight or maintain a healthy body composition and being able to keep the weight off long term. So that said, let's talk about the eating plan. Let's talk about how to be active, and let's talk about these products. And I want to focus a little bit about the products too, because that's part of the differentiating factor of what this Tr90 system is all about. So when we created Tr90, I already mentioned about this ageLOC and looking at ingredients. We screened for many of the best, not only anti-aging ingredients, but ingredients with potential for weight management. So ingredients that have studies on things like weight loss or a healthy metabolism, or have thermogenic effects in the body, or that help to control things like ghrelin or leptin, these hunger and hormonal signals in the body. Also, in addition to looking at ingredients, at what are the best ones that can really support lean muscle. And so we screened a lot of the best candidate ingredients, and then what ended up in our final formulations were the ones that had the strongest impact on having a healthy gene expression in the body, but also based on the literature. So it's kind of a combination of scientific literature with our innovative gene expression science that led us to formulate these products. So these products consist of trim shakes. So those are chocolate and vanilla-based whey protein shakes. We also have a Tr90 control product, which is all about controlling a healthy appetite. And then we have a complex or a fit product that's all about a healthy metabolism. And then we have Jumpstart. That's a product that's designed to be taken the first 15 days in the system. The reason we actually created Jumpstart is because in our research and based on the literature, when people don't see some kind of immediate or rapid change in terms of their body composition or their weight loss or their body slimming, then they tend to become discouraged. And so Jumpstart really has some nice ingredients, and I'll talk about those in a second, that really help to kind of accelerate some of the results. And then the Tr90 Fit and the control and the trim shakes are taken throughout the entire system to provide kind of these complementary benefits to keep people on the right path. When it comes to a healthy metabolism, that's really one of the key groups of genes that we wanted to target. And a healthy metabolism it's not just one metabolism gene. There's actually many different pathways involved in what we call a healthy metabolism. So it's not, if some company says that they have just the one metabolism gene, they're lying to. It's a whole complex thing of metabolic signals that happens. But the products that were designed to really address that is going to be our Tr90 Fit and our Jumpstart. Another key category that we wanted to target is maintaining lean muscle, right? That active metabolic tissue that's going to help people lose weight, but also help people maintain their weight loss long term. The products that are really going to address that is going to be our Trim Shake, and then our Tr90 Complex as well, or our Tr90 Fit. And then last but not least is going to be positive mood and willpower. This is talking about the brain, but to be honest with you, a lot of the signals that impact the brain are coming from the stomach. They're coming from gut microflora. There's this whole fascinating research field of how our gut microbes impact things like serotonin. In fact, I don't know if you know, but about 90% of the serotonin produced in the body is actually coming from our gut microflora. And so these signals, in the gut or in the stomach or in fat cells, they trigger the brain to tell the brain to either stop eating because you're full or to start eating because you're hungry and you need to feed your body. And so controlling the brain is really an important aspect of what Tr90 is all about, and that's going to be addressed through our Tr90 control product and then our Jumpstart product as well. So let's dive into maybe some of these ingredients that impact these products. And so we have Tr90 Jumpstart. It's actually one of my personal favorites. You can see in the images here we have pictures of pomegranate. This is a whole pomegranate fruit powder that we have inside the product. That has certain polyphenols and other antioxidants that have a really nice benefit on controlling appetite, to be honest with you. There's some nice research there on resistin. It's a compound that has a role with appetite and hunger signals in the body. And pomegranate has a really nice effect with being able to control that to healthier, to more lean levels inside the body. The red orange or blood orange, this is the one that I already kind of briefly talked about, but it's also a very supportive ingredient of a healthy metabolism. It's actually one of the best thermogenic agents that exists in the marketplace today. The two purple plants that you can see over there is going to be the prickly pear. It's a fruit extract, and then the setiaryl saffron. So the prickly pear, first and foremost, there's some really nice research on the prickly pear with its ability to not only help control healthy blood sugar, which has an impact on weight in terms of just keeping glucose and insulin levels at bay. Insulin really is one of the triggers for fat storage and fat metabolism in the body, and so you want to keep insulin at bay as well. But also it has a really nice slimming effect in terms of the body. Not a diuretic effect, that's something very different, but it really helps people to see some nice slimming effects even within as early as 7 days based on the clinical studies on the prickly pear. Moving over to the saffron, there's a lot of research on it. Part of the reason for its ability to benefit mostly controlling our appetite is going to be through its ability to support our healthy serotonin levels in the body. But just briefly, maybe I'll share one clinical study on the saffron. You can see here, this is a randomized study that was done by Borges et al. And you can see that there was some nice benefits in terms of not only body shaping. I wanted to highlight that here in this slide. They looked at thigh circumference. This was a time of 8 weeks where they were given either just the saffron or a placebo, and they were told not to change anything in their diet. And they maintained the same diets for both groups. And the frequency of snacking went down. So their desire to snack throughout the day went down, which is going to be good for just glucose and insulin control throughout the day. You know, the idea of snacking, 5-6 times throughout the day is really outdated science. And so at body weight, there was a reduction there, but there was also a reduction in thigh circumference. There's actually a different study that I don't have here on file to show you, but I can tell you briefly. They studied setiaryl saffron on women and appetite, and 100% of the women in the study that were given the saffron mentioned that they had decreased desire to snack on unhealthy foods, especially decreasing snack time at nighttime, which is usually when people like to snack on more of the unhealthy foods, the snacks, the processed foods. And so saffron is really an incredible super ingredient, if I can say that, on controlling appetite and helping with that. Tr90 Fit. So this is a product designed to help support lean muscle and healthy metabolism. That's what a lot of the gene expression science shows with these ingredients. You can see here that it has red orange. It has citrus bioflavonoids from citrus fruits. A lot of people think they get that benefit by just eating, oranges and limes or lemons or grapefruits. But really, these bioflavonoids, so these active phytochemicals from the citrus fruits, are mostly derived from actually the peel of the fruit. And so if you discard the peel, you're not getting these super bioflavonoids that have really nice thermogenic effects in the body. There's a brown seaweed in the product that's standardized to fucoxanthin, which is a super ingredient for healthy metabolism and burning more fat for fuel. It has cayenne pepper. So the capsaicin is kind of a nice active that has a thermogenic effect in the body. You can kind of see a trend. These really a lot of a blend of different thermogenic agents that help just the body burn more calories at rest to give people advantages for being able to use fat for fuel, but also, if you think about it, the indirect benefit of if you can maximize fat burn in the body, then you're able to actually spare lean muscle from breaking down and being used as fuel, which is something that's more common during weight loss, because when someone's losing weight, they're eating less calories. When you eat less calories, your body kind of goes into this survival mode where it has to break stuff down, whether it be, carbs and glucose and then glycogen, be able to use that for energy. Fat, of course, breaks down into the fatty acids and the glycerol, but then muscle tissue, right? That's going to break down into its smaller components and use it as energy in the body if it doesn't have any other energy stores to be used up. And so really maximizing a healthy metabolism spares your lean muscle from breaking down. And that's why this Fit product is incredible. You can see we get quercetin. Onion is a nice source of quercetin. It's actually one of the most abundant phytonutrients that we get from plants. It's also found in things like apples and cherries and things like that. And then we have theanine. We have green tea. We have theanine in the next product. I'm jumping ahead here, but the green tea polyphenols, those are really nice ingredients for healthy metabolism and for burning fat for fuel. There's some nice studies, even without caffeine, that green tea can have a thermogenic effect in the body. We actually decaffeinate our green tea because we know that people are sensitive to caffeine. Even though caffeine, especially in high doses, can have a thermogenic effect, we wanted to be sensitive to those individuals. And so we have a very high quality green tea extract in our product. So Tr90 control, this really is all about positive mood and willpower. In scientific terms, that means about how do we control hunger and appetite. So things looking at, glucose and insulin and ghrelin and leptin and all these hunger and signals in the body. Some of the key ingredients in here, you can see cocoa, flavonols and polyphenols. Cocoa, I think most of us have seen, or at least have heard about some research that dark chocolate's going to be good for weight loss. Of course, if it's lower in sugar and more pure in the dark cocoa, but the cocoa, flavonols are responsible for a lot of those metabolism benefits, but also their ability to help to kind of curb the appetite a little bit. Tart cherry right here is actually one of my personal favorite ingredients. Tart cherry has a lot of studies in athletes, and you're kind of thinking, why do we want an ingredient that has been studied in athletes in a weight loss or a weight management system? And the reason is that we really want to encourage healthy exercise and activity and healthy recovery after activity. We understand that a lot of people that are trying to lose weight are usually not very active individuals. And when they start to do activity, whether it be running or jogging or going to the gym, whatever it might be, they're very sore. And so the tart cherry really helps with kind of that soreness and that recovery-like benefit, in addition to providing, some nice energy benefits in the body and some nice studies on appetite control as well. So tart cherry to me is really a nice ingredient in this control product. The Tr90 shake. It's all about maintaining lean muscle mass. This is a nice shake. It has a nice healthy dose of protein. In the US market, if that's the market that you pertain to, each serving of protein is going to have 15 grams of protein per scoop. It's a whey protein product. The reason that we chose the whey protein is because it's really high in leucine. Leucine is kind of the key branched chain amino acid that stimulates or opens the door for muscle protein synthesis. Usually in the studies, you need at least about 20 to 30 grams of high quality protein to be able to maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis inside the body. And so the nice thing about our trim shakes is that we have 15 grams of protein. And so what that can do is that if you take 2 scoops of protein, that'll give you the optimal 30 grams. And you can add that with some fruits and vegetables to make it more of a meal. Or what you can do is you can use the 15 grams of protein in 1 scoop, and then you can actually complement it with your meal. So say like for breakfast, if you want to have, a few eggs with a piece of whole grain toast, with some peanut butter on it, and your shake, adding some, fruits and vegetables with it as well, that'll be a really nice meal. The idea behind the shakes is to give you some high protein, but lower in fat and lower in other calories. We do sweeten a little bit with fructose. Fructose by design was actually used. I know a lot of people have some misunderstandings about fructose as a sweetener, but it's fruit sugar. And the only concern of fructose is going to be in excess in high levels outside of what's considered to be a healthy diet. There's 6 grams in one of our shakes. There's, by way of comparison, I think there's, 15 or 20 grams in about a medium-sized apple. And so the sugar content, it is low, but it's sweet enough to make it palatable, to make it taste good. But also fructose is really low on the glycemic index when you compare it to traditional sugars, just like sucrose, for example. And we wanted to make sure that we're keeping insulin at bay because it can trigger fat storage in the body. And when people are trying to lose weight and they're consuming less calories, we really want to maximize the fat burn. So a lot of care went into all the ingredients, went into the products. The tart cherry, just one more plug for that. It's a nice ingredient. We added it to our US-based Tr90 shakes, to our chocolate and vanilla. Maybe I'll point out here, I don't have a slide here to mention it specifically, but for those that maybe are sensitive to whey or don't prefer, the animal-based proteins, we do have another alternative or another option. We have our protein boost and our green shake. They're both incredible shakes. They're vegetarian shakes. We have a combination of pea protein and rice protein. A lot of people kind of diminish these plant-based proteins in terms of weight loss or muscle building. But to be honest with you, the limitations of one plant-based protein can be overcome by combining it with a different one. And so the amino acids that are low in rice are actually high in pea protein and vice versa. And so together they actually make a very complete vegetarian protein shake for those that may be sensitive to lactose or soy or gluten or things like that, or that want to go the vegetarian route. They can still achieve similar benefits by using those alternative shakes compared to these traditional, the chocolate and vanilla whey-based shakes that we have. Okay, so we put this to the test. So we created these incredible products with these really nice natural ingredients. And we wanted to make sure that the products alone would be able to have a healthy effect on restoring a healthy gene expression pattern inside the body as it relates to fat metabolism, fat storage, and fat transport, as you can see here. So these are actually pathways, they're not individual genes. And so that's why you can see the size of them on this image here are actually very different, because the number of genes that goes into a pathway could be anywhere from just a few genes to even hundreds of genes that have complex roles and how they relate to fat metabolism. But nonetheless, in this particular study, we looked at a lean control and we looked at a high fat control. And then we looked at a high fat control with not applying the principles of the eating plan, which are important, right, for optimal results. But in this case, we wanted to see, do the products alone, can they reset that gene expression to a healthy state in terms of metabolism? And as you can see, the high fat control with the blend of ingredients in our Tr90 system was really able to almost 100% reverse. It's not 100% reversal, but it's a very close mimic to what the lean control gene expression pattern is. And so this really teaches you a lot of value about the benefits of the ingredients in the products, that the ingredients alone are able to have a healthy effect on gene expression patterns as it relates to fat metabolism, transport, and storage, and other ways in the body, to be honest with you. Okay, so now let's actually transfer to talking a little bit about the eating plan. And so when we talk about the eating plan, I want to make sure that people don't have this idea of the diet mindset where they just eat a pea or they don't fill their plate with food. That's the wrong way to go about it. It's not sustainable. It's not lasting. Whether it be the lemon juice diet or whatever fad diet is out there, you really need to have a skinny lean mindset. That's what I like to call it. And really the way to do it, if you do the eating plan right, you're going to fill up your plate, but you're going to fill up your plate with the right portions of the right foods. You're going to fill it up with a lot of fruits and vegetables. We can talk about what the right ones are. Lean protein, but not a ginormous, 10-ounce steak size of lean protein. We're talking about really about, 3 to 4 ounces of, for example, steak or chicken or fish, if that's your protein source. You don't really need a lot, but you need enough to be able to stimulate lean protein synthesis. So about 20 to 30 grams. And then obviously we want to include some grains. There's a lot of diets out there that just do no grains at all. So no rice, no pasta, no beans, no things like that. We do recognize the value that they have, especially the whole grains, because they're going to be rich sources of fiber and other nutrients that are going to help to support a healthy appetite and hunger signals in the body. But of course, not going to the excess. But if you use these foods in the right portions, you can fill up your plate. You get a lot of nutrient-dense foods that are still lower in calories, higher in protein, higher in fiber. People are feeling full and they're not feeling wasted or starving while they're doing the Tr90 program. So in the Americas, we have an eating plan. And to really simplify it here, you can see that we recommend, and these snacks, to be honest with you, are going to be optional for those that are hungry throughout the day. A lot of times when they make a few changes to the eating plan and they complement, their shake with some other foods, some fruits, some vegetables, then they really can forego those snacks throughout the day. Like I said, the snacks are optional, but it's really the 3 snacks, 2 shakes a day that are going to complement the meals, and then 1 healthy separate meal with a minimum of 30 grams of protein at that meal. These are the hand sizes that you can see. These are our way of trying to estimate how much food someone needs at a meal. So you can see the meat sources. It's about the size and thickness of the palm of the hand. So, for chicken, pork, fish, steak, things like that. For non-meat sources, to get the same amount of protein, you usually need a little bit more. So that's going to be about the size and thickness of your fist. And then in terms of legumes, it's going to be a cup size on your hand. The fruits and vegetables, you can see it really is a heaping size of those fruits and vegetables. We really want to emphasize those. And of course, in terms of fruits and vegetables, most of them are going to be really beneficial and good. Typically, the ones that we want to stay away from are going to be the potatoes. They're going to be the starchy vegetables. But really, to be honest with you, it depends on what it's replacing, right? Because if the potato is replacing something that's going to be less desirable than that, then the potato becomes a good option. So when people ask, well, what's good and bad in terms of dieting? Well, it really depends on what food is replacing what. And it depends on the entire diet. I tell people all the time, look, 1 pizza is not going to make you fat. 1 pizza is not going to make you skinny. That's what you do on a consistent basis. And people who follow the program, there's this whole program guide designed on, what are the best options in terms of, protein and fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And if people will follow that that eating plan and the exercise recommendations that we have and really commit to it, they see incredible results. And I'll get to a clinical here at the end that shows that. So protein science, I'm not going to go into all the detail about it, but part of the research of the eating plan really began with research that was done by Donald Layman. So he's spent many, many years and is one of the experts in the world in terms of protein science. And a lot of the idea about protein and adequate protein that comes in the body is based on some really outdated research on just achieving minimum levels. They're called nitrogen balance studies, that if you have adequate nitrogen balance from protein in the body, then any excess or extra protein really does you no good. And those levels have been established at about 0.8 grams per kilogram. But to be honest with you, the science that really supports extra protein at about levels of 1.6 grams per kilogram in terms of a weight loss or weight management system are going to provide additional benefits beyond just maintaining the minimum. So additional benefits are going to help to support lean muscle, influence gene expression, improve fat metabolism, improve satiety, improve glycemic control. And I should point out at the same time that Tr90 is not a high protein diet. When you look at average diets across America, usually adults are getting about 90 grams of protein a day. And so if we recommend about 30 grams of protein at each meal, that's not a high protein. It's more of a moderate protein diet. It's really about shifting when and where and the timing of how we incorporate protein to be able to maximize these benefits. And so what I'm inferring by this is that it's about the protein and not the carbs that are going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So for all the athletes out there, you know that muscle protein synthesis is kind of the key trigger for stimulating muscle and growing muscle tissue. And so it's used for, bodybuilders and people that are trying to build muscle. But this important marker is also super important when it comes to weight loss and weight management, because it's all about maintaining lean muscle to give you that better chance of maintaining weight loss long term. And so as you can see, a meal with over 30 grams of protein has a really nice effect on almost doubling muscle protein synthesis. I should mention here that when you combine that with exercise, there's an additional stimulus on muscle protein synthesis. So to be able to maximize muscle, you really need to combine adequate levels of protein with exercise, especially strength training exercise. But what you can see here is that a meal that has about the 30 grams of protein or less than 30 grams of carbohydrate, you can see that there's actually no additional stimulation of muscle protein synthesis to be able to get someone in that fat burning zone long term for maintaining muscle and maintaining their weight loss. So this is kind of the general concept here. If I had a few other slides, I'd show you that typical diets usually have a small breakfast, a small lunch, and then a big dinner when it comes to protein intake. But ideally, we want to more evenly distribute that protein intake to be able to maximize the time in which you're stimulating muscle to be able to maintain that tissue, and in the long run, keep your body in that fat burning zone to be able to maximize fat burn and help people lose weight and keep it off. So this is another slide that's just showing that same concept, that eating and exercise really go hand in hand. So this is actually research from Layman, where he reviews just the research on weight loss overall. And when you look at traditional diets, these are going to be high carb, low protein. Typically, of all the weight that you lose, 40% of that comes from muscle mass. So if someone loses, let's say 20 pounds, 40% of that is going to be 8 pounds. So you just lost 8 pounds of muscle mass. And, for every pound of muscle mass, it's going to vary based on the individual, but you're talking about an additional 5 to 15 calories less that you're burning per day. And so just imagine losing those 20 pounds and losing, what I will call, let's say, the 100 calorie advantage. If you're burning 100 calories less per day just based on the muscle equation, that puts you at a disadvantage long term. And so even if you go back to eating what you ate before when you were maintaining your weight, because you're burning 100 or less or more calories per day, you're burning 100 or more calories less per day because of that weight loss and because of the muscle loss, it's going to be very, very difficult to be able to maintain that weight loss long term. Of course, you skip over to a higher protein diet. This is where it equates to about 30 grams of protein, more evenly distributed throughout the day for a total of about 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight. You can see that you can still lose a lot of weight, but you maintain more of the muscle. You don't maintain it all if it's just the protein. But if you maintain the protein and you combine it with exercise, especially strength training exercise, 2 to 3 times a week, then you can actually maintain lean muscle even during a weight loss period. And so that's why Tr90 is so different from a fad diet or a quick fix diet. It's about maintaining that weight loss long term. And we have incredible results of people who have been on Tr90 globally. They've been able to lose weight and they look good and they feel good and their metabolism is still good because they've been able to maintain that lean muscle. I think I'm going to skip over this briefly, but just there's lots of benefits to exercise. It's not just about maintaining the muscle. It's about, heart and lung function. It's about brain function and mood and mindset. It's about anti-aging. I mean, there are, in fact, if there's one regimen that is probably the most potent anti-aging regimen that exists, exercise has got to be up there, if not at the top of the list, because we're sedentary, generally speaking, and most people are not being active like they should and getting these benefits like they should. And so Tr90, it's a great excuse. It's a great motivator for people to actually to get up off the couch, to start moving. And I tell people it depends on where they're at in terms of their exercise, how intense they are, how frequent they do it. If someone is starting from nothing, then start doing something. If someone is already active, it's important because the body will adapt over time to in slow and steady ways to either increase the frequency, the duration, or the intensity of that exercise, and really focus on a combination of aerobic and strength training for optimal results with Tr90. These are the competitive advantages. It's based on our gene expression science. Really, we've looked in the marketplace. There's nobody that's doing what we do in the way that we do it and how we've applied this science to Tr90. It really is a holistic approach. It's not a fad diet. It's doing it in the right way. And it features a sustainable eating plan. A lot of people talk about Tr90, how they do it for 90 days and they give up. But really, Tr90, the first 90 days is this learning phase. And after those 90 days, we want you to continue with the program. As I think I highlight here, during the 90 days, you take the products, do the meals, and you do the activity. But after that, you want to continue with the eating plan. This is a sustainable eating plan for life. If people can learn these healthy habits, they're going to be well off for life. In the activity recommendations, and then using the products as needed. A lot of people continue to use the shakes on a regular basis to help complement their meals as a high quality, high protein, low carbohydrate, low fat source. A lot of people continue to use the Jumpstart on an as needed basis, or they'll use the entire Tr90 system again. So we did a clinical study, and I'll go through this a little bit quickly here, but there were 45 women and 21 men that completed the study. The results were presented by the director of our research and development, Steve Wood, a PhD. He's an RD. He's a great guy to work with, one of the many scientists that we have on board. He presented the results of this clinical study. And in this study, so in humans, we looked at blood and we looked at gene expression in the blood as it relates to appetite and hunger. So once again, we're talking about things like glucose and insulin and ghrelin and leptin. And there are many other signals, things like adiponectin, resistin, these signals that we consider and look at in terms of gene expression. And as you can see here, when we have a lean comparison group, when you compare that to the Tr90 baseline, which is a group of overweight or obese individuals, there are going to be differences. But after using the Tr90 system for 90 days as directed, this is going to be the average of that gene expression. You can see that there is a really nice reversal or a resetting of gene expression to a more lean gene expression profile. And I can't overstate that enough, because a lot of people, that I talk to who are overweight and obese just say, you don't understand, you don't get it. I have the obese genes. I have the overweight genes. No matter what I do, I'm just not going to have the genes of a lean individual. Well, and the answer is, well, that's true. There's no gene manipulation happening. But if you want to have the metabolism of a lean person or the appetite of a lean person, what you do is you use the Tr90 system. And we have the evidence here showing that after Tr90, that you're able to really have the metabolism of a lean individual or the appetite of a lean individual. And that's really why satisfaction rates are really high with the system. And so what I'll show here is with this clinical study, this is looking at body fat reduction in terms of percentage points. And you can see, if you go across the board, it's about a 7% reduction in body fat. This is meaning that most of the weight loss is actually coming from body fat. We looked at body measurements as well, because it's not about just the scale. It's about how people look and how people feel about themselves. You can see reductions in waist circumference, hip circumference, arm circumference, and ankle circumference as well. This to me is actually the most impressive part of the study. We looked at changes in body silhouette. 85% noticed a significant difference after this Tr90 system. But if you look over here to the left, that they liked this program better than programs they had tried previously. It's, if I recall the number, it's over 80%. And to me, this is the most significant things, because there's a lot of weight loss systems in the marketplace. We understand that. And a lot of them with good marketing, a lot of them with bad marketing. But the fact that they liked this better than other programs they had tried really goes to show you that the innovation of gene expression science and these ingredients, along with the eating plan and exercise, really is this holistic system for helping people achieve results and not be suffering while they're consuming less calories. And so they're eating the right way. The ingredients in the supplements are making a difference there, and people are enjoying their journey while they lose weight and they look better. Because if people don't enjoy the process, if they suffer throughout, then they're going to give up. They're not going to see the results. And that's why Tr90, like I said earlier, has great satisfaction. And I think that's all that I have planned for my presentation. So thank you, everybody. So I can hear you now.
Well, Tanner, that was really great information. And, I've used those shakes. I use them periodically. I've never had an issue with weight. I guess my genes function well. My diet's pretty decent. But sometimes in the morning, I like to have the shakes to get that extra protein in the morning, so I'm not cannibalizing some of my muscles. So we also commonly see a lot of people report that it brings their cholesterol back into healthy levels. We've got to be careful we're not making any claims there, but we often get reports of that. Also we know that when people lose weight, we also see their scanner scores. So this is a really nice, there's actually was some original studies that were done with the scanner, which actually measures antioxidant levels in the body in 30 seconds non-invasively. And what we know is that obesity is one of the major contributing factors of impacting scanner scores. And so we know that obesity is causing inflammation, oxidative stress, and that's causing a whole host of other health issues. And so when people can get leaner, their scanner scores tend to improve as well. And so if your scanner is low and you've got an issue with weight management, then as you lose that weight, that's going to help your antioxidant score get higher. So we do have a couple questions here. So we have someone saying, is this product compatible if someone's taken the Life Pack and the ageLOC Youth product? Can they take the Tr90 along with those two products?
Absolutely.
Okay. Short and sweet and to the point. Is it safe for diabetics to take?
So a good question. Representing corporate, I can't officially recommend that. But what I can tell you is that we looked at healthy blood sugar and insulin levels in the body as part of the development of this product. And so when we looked at a lot of the ingredients, we wanted to make sure that these are ingredients that aren't spiking glucose in the body, that aren't spiking insulin in the body. And one of the nice insights that we found from our research is that there is some nice regulating properties of the eating plan combined with the ingredients and the exercise that are all going to have an overall beneficial role in terms of regulating blood sugar in the body, improving things like insulin sensitivity. And so whether it's okay or not for a patient, I can't comment or say, but the potential is certainly there.
How would the Tr90 program fit into an integrative medicine practice who might be using HCG for diet or stimulating the production of testosterone? Is that something, that's probably something you can't answer, isn't it?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't comment on that other than to say that there's a lot of substantiation on our program and the ingredients. And so if someone wanted to add it to their system, it certainly would be complementary.
Guys, it's a great program. It's actually one of the most popular products that we have globally. And, we look forward to you guys trying it if you're interested. And then we're going to finish up this webinar here, and then we're going to ask you guys to fill out the survey. So at the end of this webinar, there's going to be a survey that's going to pop up. And just answer those few questions. It'll take you a minute. That'll give us some great feedback. And Tanner, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
You bet. Happy to be here. Take care, everybody.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.